He says the Holocaust never happened. No camps, no gas chambers, no 6 million Jews murdered, no genocide. And online, that lie spreads fast. Shared in clips, repeated in comments, dressed up as just asking questions. But history is not a popularity contest. It is not decided by whoever speaks the loudest. History is built on documents, testimony, photographs, ruins, mass graves, confessions, and memory. And when it comes to the Holocaust, the evidence is overwhelming. This is the truth about one of the darkest chapters in human history, and why denying it is not skepticism. It is the rejection of reality. Why this matters. The Holocaust was the systematic murder of 6 million Jews by Nazi Germany and its collaborators. During World War II, millions of others were also persecuted and murdered, including Roma and Sinti, disabled people, Poles, Soviet prisoners of war, political opponents, and others targeted by the Nazi regime. This was not a rumor, not a legend, not wartime propaganda. It was a state-organized campaign of persecution and extermination. And yet, decades later, some still claim it never happened. So let's go step by step. How it began, what happened, the evidence left behind, and why denial persists even in the face of proof. Number 1, how it began. The Holocaust did not begin with gas chambers. It began with ideology. Long before the killing centers, Nazi Germany built its power on hatred, especially anti-Semitism. Under Adolf Hitler, Jews were portrayed as dangerous, inferior, and responsible for Germany's problems. That hatred became law. Jewish citizens were stripped of rights, excluded from schools, jobs, and public life. Their businesses were boycotted. Their movements were restricted. Their humanity was denied. And Jews were not the only targets. Roma and Sinti communities, disabled people, political opponents, gay men, Jehovah's Witnesses, and others were also persecuted under Nazi racial and political ideology. What started with propaganda and discrimination escalated into segregation, forced deportation, starvation, imprisonment, and eventually industrialized mass murder. That is one of history's clearest warnings. Genocide does not begin with killing. It begins with dehumanization. Number 2, the Holocaust in action. Between 1941 and 1945, Nazi Germany carried out the Holocaust across occupied Europe. Jews were forced into ghettos, packed into trains, deported to concentration camps, forced labor camps, and extermination centers. Entire families disappeared. Communities that had existed for generations were erased. And this was not chaotic wartime violence. It was organized, planned by officials, recorded by administrators, transported by rail, guarded by police and soldiers, carried out through a machinery of bureaucracy. At Auschwitz-Birkenau and other killing sites, people were selected for forced labor or immediate death. Many who were judged unfit for labor, including children, the elderly, and the sick, and were murdered shortly after arrival. The Auschwitz-Birkenau memorial documents the operation of gas chambers and crematoria there, including the construction and use of multiple killing facilities in Auschwitz I and Birkenau. This is what denial tries to hide. The Holocaust was not only cruelty, it was system, not only hatred, but administration, not only murder, but genocide. Number 3, the evidence they cannot erase. If someone claims the Holocaust never happened, they are not disputing a mystery. They are ignoring evidence from every direction. 1. Nazi documentation. The Nazis kept records, transport lists, camp reports, construction plans, orders, internal correspondence, administrative files. At post-war trials, prosecutors presented massive amounts of German records, including military files, SS records, and key documents like the Wannsee Conference Protocol. Think about that. One of the strongest proofs of the Holocaust came from the perpetrators themselves. 2. Testimony from survivors, liberators, and perpetrators. Survivors described deportations, selections, forced labor, starvation, beatings, medical abuse, and mass killing. Liberating soldiers entered camps and documented what they found. And even Nazi officials testified. At Nuremberg and other post-war proceedings, perpetrators did not argue that the Holocaust never happened. Many instead tried to reduce their own personal responsibility. The documentary record, photographs, films, and eyewitness testimony presented At those trials remain a direct refutation of denial. That matters, because denial today often pretends there is no proof. But the proof was already in the courtroom. 3. Physical evidence. The camps were real. The ruins are real. The crematoria are real. The mass graves are real. At Auschwitz, the memorial site documents the history of gas chambers, crematoria, and the extermination process, including dates, construction details, and killing capacity. These are not internet rumors. These are places that still exist. Places people can visit, study, document, preserve. 4. Independent historical verification. For decades, historians, museums, governments, archives, and research institutions across countries have investigated the Holocaust, and they do not arrive at different conclusions. They converge on the same one: the Holocaust happened. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum identifies Holocaust denial as an attempt to negate the established facts of the Nazi genocide of European Jews, and notes that denial today spreads especially through the internet. Number 4. So why do people deny it? So if the evidence is so strong, why do people still deny it? Because denial is usually not about evidence. It is about ideology. Sometimes it is driven by anti-Semitism, sometimes by conspiracy culture, sometimes by political extremism, sometimes by the attention economy, where outrage gets clicks and lies spread faster than careful truth. Online denial is often disguised as just doubt, but it is not neutral. It selectively ignores documents, dismisses testimony, distorts numbers, cherry-picks fragments, and treats overwhelming evidence as if it were optional. That is not historical inquiry. Real skepticism examines evidence. Denial rejects it. And in the digital age, repetition can make a lie look familiar. Familiarity can make it feel persuasive. And persuasion, unchecked, can make it dangerous. Chapter 5: Why Denial is Dangerous. Holocaust denial is not just false. It is harmful. It dishonors victims. It wounds survivors and their families. It weakens public memory, and it helps normalize hatred by teaching people that even the best documented crimes in history can be waved away if enough people repeat a lie. When history is manipulated, humanity becomes vulnerable. Because if a society can be convinced that genocide is fiction, it can also be convinced that warning signs do not matter. And that is why memory matters. Not as ritual, but as protection. Not as politics, but as truth. The Holocaust remains one of the most documented genocides in human history, supported by archives, testimony, physical sites, and post-war legal evidence. Conclusion: history is not defined by the loudest voice in the room. It is defined by evidence, by records, by witness, by places that still stand, by names that still remain. 6 million Jews were murdered in the Holocaust. Millions of other victims were persecuted and killed under Nazi rule. These were lives, families, childhoods, communities, worlds. And no viral lie, no smug denial, no revisionist performance can erase that. The Holocaust happened. The evidence is overwhelming. And remembering it is not optional. It is a duty. 6 million lives lost. Never forgotten.